Hello friends and enemies, it's me Isabel here at Happy For Now. Welcome to or back to my channel. Today we are doing the follow-up to a video from a few weeks ago, not even weeks ago, I don't know, whenever that went up. It was recent, where I talked about all the series I'm currently reading and want to finish. So today is the follow-up, which are series I'm caught up on, series I've DNF'd, I'm done with, and series I've completed since the last time I did this video, which was about a year ago. So we got a pretty good list going here. We're gonna dive right in and talk about all the books I'm caught up on right now. And I'm gonna go put the baby down and I'll be right back. Alright, so series I've caught up on. This is where I've got a couple duets because I'm just really excited about them and we'll be done with them this year and I just want another reason to talk about them. But first up, we have a series I most recently caught up on, which is the Holly Nights series by Lee Chicot. This is one of my favorite novella series. They're all holiday based. The next one's Mother's Day. Very excited to see how that goes. But they're all holiday based and she just kind of covers a range of popular tropes or kinks and she incorporates them really well without them being like too much. They're like better developed than like a Jessica Kane and stuff because they are longer because they tend to be over 100 pages. And these are just really fun. The first one I read in this was The Four Leaf, which has primal play and reignited my love for primal play, honestly. So there's that. The last one I just read, Cupid's Peak, has voyeurism in it and it was really hot and I really enjoyed it. More than I expected to because that's usually not a thing I'm very into in my books. And it's just like, I don't know. She did it really well and it was still really hot. I get very stressed about them being caught, even though it's fiction. I don't know why, but that's how my brain works. Next, we have one of my other all-time favorite series, which is The Monstrous Matches by Lillian the Lark. This is her bathhouse that gains energy from people having sex. And that's how they like power the bathhouse and stuff. And like they're able to sell that energy off to other wizards. This follows a matchmaker throughout the series. Our first book is The Matchmaker, Stalked by the Kraken. And her journey of making these matches and how these matches go. The various monster types throughout this series, which I really enjoy. Like we've had a lake monster, we've had gargoyles, we've had a kraken shifter. You got it all here. We had nagas, or no, basilisks, not nagas. You get what I'm saying. There's a lot going on. So I really enjoyed this. I think this is a great like step 2 monster series to read. They may be a little much for beginner monster readers, but I think that like if you're ready to like venture a little deeper, these are great. She really leans into some bananas plots and tropiness and sex, just all the bananas in a pot for this one. And yeah, I really love this series, so I'm excited for more to come out this year. I'm also caught up on Wayward Children. A Lost and Found in the Moment just came out in January, and I just read it this month in February when I'm filming this, so I'm officially caught up on this series. I feel like this is a booktube favorite, book space favorite, portal fantasy series where children go through doors and are transported to another world and they have to be sure before they go through the doors, and there's a lot of reasons these children go through these doors and some of those reasons are good and bad and all kinds of feelings. The last one, very emotional. I talked about it in my mid-month wrap-up this month actually, so if you're really curious you can go check that out. But if you're looking for really solid quick novellas, I think this is a great series. Then we have the Monk and Robot series by Becky Chambers, which I'm counting as my caught up. I do need to read. I'm counting this and caught up because I'm going to read A Prayer for the Crown Shy in February. I'm literally like next on the list for the audio for my library. And I've got my physical and I want to annotate as I read. So like it's happening this month. So we're counting it. This is another, you could kind of call this like a cozy fantasy kind of, because I feel like the world has like very fantasy vibes. But there's also robots. So this, for me, is one of those ones that like I like to really just settle in with like a hot cup of tea and read this book, which makes sense. The monk is a tea monk. They serve tea and talk to people about their problems and help them. And they're kind of exploring this thing that they've not been taught about from the robot that they meet. It's beautiful. I don't know. It was my first Becky Chambers and I was like, oh, I actually need to read more. So we'll see where I get this year as far as reading some more of her works. Next, we are jumping right back into the romance. We have the Immortals After Dark series, which I finished last year, / caught up on. I read Monroe, which was our newest release, and I'm calling this caught up because we don't have a date for the next book or any info yet, and that's fine. We're gonna live in the place for me where I believe that this will have another book. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna live in that belief. Next, we have a series that I did a read-along for, which is Hidden Legacy. This I caught up on last year for the read-along that I did with my friends Steph, Heather, and Megan. I'll tag them down below if you're curious. But we did live shows every month for a book. I think it was like every month for the book. So we talked through the whole entire Hidden Legacy series. The first 3 were a reread for me, and then the next 3 were not. So that was really fun. I'm also going to live in the land that we are getting more in this series. Though Ilona Andrews has gone to self-publishing all their works now, and they're not really telling people when things are coming until right before it's about to happen. Which is fine, but it also stresses me out because I'm like, I want to know more. But it's fine because I'm done with this series, and then I can, you know, I need to go back and get through some of their other series. Like Clean Sweep that we're reading this year for the Ilona Andrews read-along. So Hidden Legacy is about a family with abilities that are otherworldly. There are like houses that the families run. This is not like She Who Shall Not Be Named houses. This is like each family is like a empire of witches or wizards, and they have these abilities, and they like purposely pair up with each other to procreate and have more powerful witches. So the first 3 books follows the oldest daughter Nevada and Mad Rogan, and then the next book is Katarina and somebody, I don't want to say the name because I feel like it's a fun reveal to get in the books if you haven't read these yet. But this is like urban fantasy with romance. 3 books for each couple. It's fantastic. I think this is one of those series that really crosses genres really well because though it is romance centric, it is also still an urban fantasy. These are set in Houston, Texas, and they do really good Texas rep. Not surprising. They're from Texas and they live in Texas. And every other country, every other area of the region that they've done that I've been to has also felt really accurate. Like Kate Daniels is set around Atlanta. That felt very Atlanta to me, having lived outside Atlanta for like a good chunk of my life. Yeah. And in Georgia, like it felt really good and accurate. But this is really fun. Our heroines here are very much like strong-willed heroines, not here to get run over by anyone, but Nevada basically runs a PI firm, and she is solving these cases. We'll leave it at that. If you, seriously, if they speak your interest in any way and you haven't picked them up yet, I cannot recommend them enough. They're so good, and you will fall in love with the heroes and the heroines. I'm in love with all of them. So there's that. Next we have The Vicious Lost Boys, which we're waiting for the Dark Fae Princes to come out. The last book in this. The Vicious Lost Boys is wrapping up with this next book, and I am on Nikki's Patreon, and she's already posted a chapter. I haven't read it yet because like I'm kind of resisting because I can't decide if I just want to wait till I have the full book. I think I might re-listen to all the audios and then read the new one when it drops. I don't know. I'm really unsure how I want to handle this, but I'm really, really excited to get this last book in the series. This is a Peter Pan inspired romance Why Choose series. So this follows a Wendy daughter that is kidnapped, as they all are every year on their 18th, and taken to Neverland. They're not supposed to fall in love with the Darling Girls. Winnie ends up being different. She also is helping Peter get his shadow back, and there's a lot of other like fairy world intrigue stuff happening. And I really liked how this worked. I think this was a really well done, inspired by type story. Because I don't necessarily want like a full retelling of Peter Pan, if that makes sense. Like that's weird. She's generations later of darlings that have been taken to Neverland. But yeah, we follow their story. Great smut. Great story. Love this so much. It is all-time favorite. Cannot wait. Next we have the one historical series I have right now that I'm actively reading. I do need to pick up more historical romances this year. I want to. But that is Hell's Bells by Sarah MacLean. I'm a Sarah MacLean diehard fangirl. This is the thing. If you know me, you know this. Like, I adore her so, so much. So Hell's Bells is her A-Team inspired historical romance about 4 women who are helping other women escape bad situations, whether that be engagements to men who are terrible and other things. So our first book follows Cecily, who we meet in a previous series, and her romance with Caleb, who is her sister's best friend. So we've got like that nice little forbidden element. These are really fun. Again, very headstrong, feminist forward, like historicals that don't feel gross if that makes sense. But I especially loved book 2, which is Heartbreaker. This one is a romp of a ride to the place where people go get married, and I cannot think of the name of it. That one's Heartbreaker, and that follows Adelaide Frampton, who is a princess of thieves. She was literally like raised in the slums, like thieving and stuff. Henry, the Duke of Claiborne, who is like a very upright and uptight man who does not break the rules. And they end up in a carriage together on a race across the country to go stop a wedding and a marriage. So absolutely delightful. I loved Heartbreaker so much. And Knockout is out in August, so I will definitely be picking that up when it comes out and reading it probably pretty quickly after getting it if I don't get an arc. So we'll see. That one I'm especially excited for because that's Imogen, and she is very into explosives. So I can't wait to see the kind of hell she's gonna raise. And I believe her romance is with the police chief. Yeah, it's with Detective Peck. So I just can't wait. Then we have, okay, a duology. Like I said, I tried to limit these. This one is the Alhiam Witches. The first book is called The Crescent Spell. The second book comes out in February tentatively still. It looks like it comes out soon. I will probably not get to pick this up until after my Read What You Own challenge ends, but I am so excited. So the first book is a pretty short intro to a why choose romance around, we'll call it inspired by Howl's Moving Castle. And we follow a girl who finds out she has magical abilities and goes on the run in this house that can move and transport, of course, with these wizards. And as things are revealed, there's 3 of them. We learn more and more about her abilities, their abilities, why she doesn't know about magic, the truth about the magic in the world, and all kinds of things. And at the end of this book, she has to go through trials, which she does manage, of course, because like, why else would we have book 2? I feel like book 2 is going to be a lot more of their romance. But yeah, this is really fun. If you've watched Howl's Moving Castle and you love it, I feel like there's a lot of references you'll pick up on. But also, if you haven't, I think it's still a really enjoyable read. Then last but not least, we have Camp Haven / Kink Camp. There's only 1 book out right now, which like I said, I'm trying to limit ones where it's like there's only 1 book. But I would be remiss not to talk about Kink Camp because / Camp Haven. Adriana Anders killed it with this book. This is another Primal Play pick that I picked up literally because Primal Play. It did get pulled off of Amazon at one point, so like she like rebranded it. So I'll link to the new one. But she got it back, thank goodness, but there was a whole thing. But this series follows a widowed guy who runs a kink camp called Camp Haven, and a girl who comes there with her friend to just kind of get away for the weekend from being a caregiver to her ill mother. And she pulls this note off this bulletin board where people post looking for partners for things, and that thing is him wanting someone to chase in the woods. And it's only supposed to happen once, but of course it happens more than once. And it is so good. It is so hot. Lots of reveals, lots of really good stuff here. I think the way his widowhood is discussed is really well done also. Like, it didn't feel, what do I want to call it? Like, we lovingly talked about the past wife of this man and like what happened and why he's still running the camp in her memory, but it didn't feel like we were just being dumped on about the widow, if that makes sense, and like why he was a widow. Like, it was just kind of like, this is her, this is who she was, and this is why I'm still here doing this. He's also a like famous artist, of course, type, and their dynamic here is really fun. And I love a moment of, we're doing this again, even though we shouldn't, and off they go. Like, favorite thing, absolute favorite. So yeah, I'm really pumped for the next book. It is about his friend who's like a rock star and has kinks, so I'm very excited to see where this goes. Anyways, let's talk about the one series I've ditched in the last year. I somehow didn't include it in last year's list when I did this, and that I think I still thought I was going to read these, but I have decided that I have to break up with this author, specifically with this series, because they just are not working for me, and no one I know liked the newest one that has liked the others, and that series is the Until Him and Her series by Aurora Rose Reynolds. I have read most of these, except for the newest one, and they have went steadily downhill for way too long. These are very like insta love. There's a boom, as she calls it, moment where the guy sees the girl and they know they're the one, or the girl sees the guy and they know they're the one, and it's that romance. So the first 4 in the series I quite liked a long time ago when I read them. I have purposely not revisited them because I just don't know if they will hold up for me. Like, that's just how I feel. So I kept reading these ones, which are their kids' generation falling in love. And they have just literally, like, some were good. And then we just, like, kept going downhill. So I'm ditching that series officially and gonna say that thanks for the good times, but we're good. Not moving on. All right, let's talk about this series I finished last year. I truly thought this was gonna be a small list, and I'm pretty happy with myself. I'm not a big series reader personally. Like, I read them, but I'm pretty slow to finish series. So I feel like it's always interesting to see what I do have on the list and what I don't. So first up, I did read all of the Psy Changeling series, the first part, not Trinity. So I've read all of the first 15, I think it's 15 Psy Changeling books. There's a whole vlog series. I'll link the playlist down below if you're curious, but I read all of those by Nalani Singh. This is a really, really cool world that she built here in the Changeling universe. And that first set of 15 books are really good, but really long. I had about 4 favorites from that series. I'm really glad I read it. I feel like I got to consume a part of, like, his romance history, kind of, you know, like, this is one of those series that started in the peak paranormal times and has continued to this day, and a lot of people are really big fans of. So I'm thrilled that I finished it, and I'm happy to say I'm done, and I'm excited to pick up Trinity some point this year. Next, I finished Mystic Bayou. This series is on Audible Plus, or it was on Audible Plus. I don't know if it still is, but it used to be on the Audible Romance package, which is where I started it. This is a small town Louisiana shifter romance series. This town has a lot of shifters and magical beings that live there. There's an explosion that attracts more magical beings, and our heroine in the first book ends up with the town, like, mayor, who's a dragon, and it follows her and then, like, all the people in the town falling in love. It's really cute. It's really sweet, really quick novella length reads. I'm glad I read them. I don't know, like, it's not something I think I can see myself revisiting, but I did have, like, an absolute blast reading about this little town in Louisiana finding love. Like, it was just cute. Next, we have the Planet of Desire series by Robin Love. This is a 4-book romance about aliens. Their aliens are very sex positive, and they, generally speaking, allow people to watch them have sex. They also have, like, a sex games. Like, these books are so varied. It's really interesting. But this follows them, humans crash landing on a planet that releases a toxin that makes them horny. So it's bonkers, but it follows that journey of them. And the first book, obviously, they meet an alien, and, like, one of the books is, like, the sex goddess of the planet who gets her happily ever after. This series, I felt like, fell off around book 4 for me. I just stopped enjoying it as much. I think book 1 was my favorite, probably, maybe book 2. And then I just kind of was like, whatever, by the end, which is fine. I often struggle to finish non-Ruby Dixon alien series. I just have a soft spot for Ruby at this point in my life. And because I read Ruby a long, long time ago, before, like, her new covers and all that started happening. I was reading Ruby, so, like, sweet. I have a very sweet spot for her, and have done a podcast on Ruby Dixon. So, like, I feel like non-Ruby alien books are just hard for me. But that doesn't mean they're bad. Like, this is still a pretty fun one. It had interesting concepts, and I really loved having a female alien heroine in this series as well. Then I most recently finished the Dreamland Billionaire series. There is a vlog where I read all of them. I love this series. I am surprised at how much I liked this series. I really thought the hype was going to kill it for me. This follows 3 brothers who are inheriting their shares of the company that is basically a Disney equivalent, we'll call it, big theme park amusement entertainment company. And they have to complete challenges set forth by their granddad from his will when he passed. And all 3 brothers along the way find love. So book 1, The Fine Print, is our workplace romance. In The Fine Print, she kind of ends up helping him reconnect with things that he kind of forgot about in his life, we'll call it. And also reconnecting with the company itself and what that meant to his grandpa. In book 2, Terms and Conditions, he is the CEO of the company, or about to be the CEO of the company. He has to get married and have a child in a certain time frame to inherit the title, or get the title of CEO or whatever. And they're all doing this in, like, hopes of, like, getting rid of their dad's shares, who was, like, a terrible father to them. They've all lost their mother. Definitely check content warnings if you want to check this series out, because there's a lot to them. But yeah, so book 2 is The Assistant and the Boss, and it follows their forced proximity romance, and also, like, how they've kind of always had feelings and like been in this weird rhythm with each other, and what that means when they finally come together. Last but not least, Final Offer follows the the chaos brother. He's like kind of ADHD, I think. Like, he has ADHD. She said he's ADHD. And his childhood sweetheart who reunite, and she is a single parent, not his kid. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that now. This one I do want to give a quick content note for like heavy addiction, alcohol, drug use, stuff. Like, just there's a lot in this one. It's hard. I also really liked how it reflected some of the struggles we can have with people who have ADHD. If you don't know, I have ADHD. I feel like addiction is one of those big things that people don't realize, like the dopamine chasing whole thing. Either way, this was really good. I really loved this series. I'm glad I read it. Next, I did finish the Twisted series by Anna Wong, and another one that is an all-time favorite. I'm so glad it's over. I think these were great. I think the last book was my favorite. I think Christian's my favorite, but I was so happy to finish these last year, and just, I'm very excited for her new series too, but seriously, this was such a fun, like, friend group romance. I loved how we journeyed through the friend group and they all found love with people that we hadn't really met yet. I liked how Twisted Lies tied into King of Wrath perfectly when I read that. Like, they kind of intertwined in plot, so that was really nice. Next, I finished the Fiennes Thanksgiving trilogy. This was amazing. If you didn't have this on your radar yet, you need to put this trilogy on your radar. These 3 amazing Black authors got together and wrote a whole family trilogy for Thanksgiving time, and honestly, you need to read it next year. They follow the 3 Fine brothers finding love and just various shots at romance, and it's so cute. I really loved this series. Each one, like, was just as good as the last. I also finished the Vegas Night series from Christina C. Jones. This is one of the series that, like, I was dragging my feet on finishing, because Maybe Next Time is one of my all-time favorite books. So I just, like, didn't want to be done, but I guess now I'll just read my favorite over and over. I also finished the Love Sisters trilogy by Christina C. Jones finally. I am doing like a backlist project with Christina where I'm trying to get through her backlist. I have like a little tracker on Notion and stuff. I'm not doing great at it, but we're trying and that counts. So yeah, I also finished Love Sisters, which I think were a great tie-in to the Wright brothers and like play off of that same type of trilogy setup. I think I might have liked Love Sisters more. Like, they were much funnier at the end of the day than the Wright brothers were that I remember. All right, and then last series I'm basically caught up on because I'm listening to the last book right now. We're gonna call it while I'm filming it that I'm done with it, and that is Wicked Villains by Katie Robert. I have taken so long to read the last 2 books in this series because I didn't want to say goodbye. So these are fairy tale inspired retellings about an underworld city type situation. Our first book is Jasmine and Jafar, and then our second book is Learn My Lesson, which is Hercules, Hades, and Meg. So good, y'all. These are so good. These hit the spot for me because they're short, they're smutty, and they have lots of kink, and there's nothing more I want. You know, like, I love that in a book, and that's why I like these. I do want to give a quick content notes. Like, make sure you're checking the content notes for these from Katie. Like, she provides really good ones, because like the first book has some like consent, non-consent situations happening, if you don't realize that they've played together before. So like, there's already some implied consent. But yeah, this series is great. I am really excited for Queen Takes Rose. It's probably the one I've been the most excited for, which is kind of weird that I put it off, but like, I do that. I will like delay gratification when I'm really excited for a thing. So we're gonna call it complete, and it'll be in my end of month wrap up. And if it's not there, yell at me, but it will be because I've started the audio again already. So it's a shorty, so I should be done with it very quickly. All right, y'all. Those are all of the series I'm caught up on, ditched, and finished in the last year. So let me know any series you've caught up on in the last year or you think I should check out. And if you don't want to do that, leave me a soccer ball emoji. I'm staring at my Ted Lasso bear. And so excited because we got a date for season 3 in March, and I cannot wait. Anyways, you can leave that in the comments, and I will have links to everything down below for you, as well as links to be my friend anywhere on the internet, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye!
Already packing, come with me. I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be. Life with no distractions. We'll get